2017, the Archipelagic and Island States Forum initiated. The Archipelagic and Island States Forum, or AIS Forum, is a designated platform to include 47 archipelagic and island nations focused in 4 thematic areas. Those are climate change mitigation and adaptation, blue economy, marine plastic debris, and good maritime governance. AIS Forum Secretariat has developed 3 programs that encourage innovations through research and development and entrepreneurship. Those are Joint Research Program, the Innovators Scholarship Program, and Innovation Challenge. We believe that the academicians play a big role in advancing R&D. Thus, we initiated the Joint Research Program between academic institutions to come up with breakthrough ideas that could bring benefit to AIS participating countries. In the second program, we will bring talented individuals through the Innovators Scholarship Program to come up with innovations that contribute to the economy of AIS countries. The scholarship program is a partnership between AIS Forum with universities from archipelagic and island countries. Last, in the light of COVID-19 pandemic, it is important for archipelagic and island states to have a resilient economy. Therefore, AIS Forum Secretariat introduces the Innovation Challenge, an idea competition to find business solutions that can help companies and societies at large withstand a crisis situation. Many solutions to challenges that affect AIS participating countries in 4 main thematic areas and SDG 14 goals are produced through collaboration programs. These programs will explore opportunities through innovation and experiment that benefits on a local, regional, and international scale through sharing knowledge and experiences between AIS participating countries. Year 2017, the Archipelagic and Island States Forum initiated. The Archipelagic and Island States Forum, or AIS Forum, is a designated platform to include 47 archipelagic and island nations focused in 4 thematic areas. Those are climate change mitigation and adaptation, blue economy, marine plastic debris, and good maritime governance. AIS Forum Secretariat has developed 3 programs that encourage innovations through research and development and entrepreneurship. Those are Joint Research Program, the Innovators Scholarship Program, and Innovation Challenge. We believe that the academicians play a big role in advancing R&D. Thus, we initiated the Joint Research Program between academic institutions to come up with breakthrough ideas that could bring benefit to AIS participating countries. In the second program, we will bring talented individuals through the Innovators Scholarship Program to come up with innovations that contribute to the economy of AIS countries. The scholarship program is a partnership between AIS Forum with universities from archipelagic and island countries. Last, in the light of COVID-19 pandemic, it is important for archipelagic and island states to have a resilient economy. Therefore, AIS Forum Secretariat introduces the Innovation Challenge, an idea competition to find business solutions that can help companies and societies at large withstand a crisis situation. Many solutions to challenges that affect AIS participating countries in 4 main thematic areas and SDG 14 goals are produced through collaboration programs. These programs will explore opportunities through innovation and experiment that benefits on a local, regional, and international scale through sharing knowledge and experiences between AIS participating countries. Year 2017, the Archipelagic and Island States Forum initiated. The Archipelagic and Island States Forum, or AIS Forum, is a designated platform to include 47 archipelagic and island nations focused in 4 thematic areas. Those are climate change mitigation,
Good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to Archipelagic and Island States, or AIS Blue Startup Hub soft launch. For the next 2 hours, we will have a very interesting discussion talking about get the idea and start now. How is the best way to develop business idea and start it? But first of all, before we start, we will hear an opening remarks from Mr. Sora Lokita, Acting Director of Coordinating Ministry for Maritime and Investment Affairs, Republic of Indonesia. So Mr. Sora, hi, Mr. Sora.
Hi.
Yeah, the floor is yours, please.
Okay, thank you very much. Good afternoon, everyone. Thank you very much for taking time to attend today's event. We are grateful that all of you are here and delighted by the amount of interest that has been shown for the soft launch of the AIS Blue Startup Hub and talk show entitled Get the Idea and Start Now. During the talk, we will hear some of the lessons learned from the startup founders and businesses experts on how to start your own business. Before proceeding, let me first acknowledge the presence of Mr. Jason Herbert, Business Development Manager of Main Innovation New Zealand, Mr. Naudi Faldrino, Politics and Government Outreach Facebook Indonesia and APEC, Mr. Alistair Douglas, founder of the partner at Ishmael Technologies Singapore, Ms. Mariko McTire, co-founder of Maimizu Japan, and Mr. Alvin Evander, head of Synergy and Accelerator of MDI Ventures Indonesia. Distinguished speakers, participants, ladies and gentlemen, the government of Indonesia has been working closely with the UNDP and the Archipelagic and Island States Forum Secretariat to support collaborations between AIS participating countries around the world. Under the Manado Joint Declaration Agreement of 2018 and the AIS Forum Final Outcome of 2019, the AIS Forum Secretariat will support the AIS Forum in developing a strategy that includes several unique activities. For example, establishing a knowledge of sharing initiative between the public and private sectors, as well as other critical activities in identified high priority areas of development. Through these activities, the AIS Forum seeks to ingrain a culture of creativity and entrepreneurship in participants. Moreover, the AIS Forum is a platform where islanders can meet to establish a common understanding and to discuss a smart and effective ways to improve the livelihoods of coastal communities. By making commitments and working together on concrete actions, AIS Forum participating countries can begin to address shared challenges in sustainable development, particularly in relation to Sustainable Development Goals 14. The AIS Forum allows for a united front when tackling many of the shared development challenges, which will be impossible to confront by any individual nation, as potential solutions require high levels of international cooperations across numerous geographic regions. Consequently, reaching positive development outcomes among AIS participating countries is best accomplished through collaborative partnership. The development of smart and innovative solutions, and the use of global communications and knowledge resource platforms. However, many solutions remain locked in a state of perpetual research and development or are implemented as pilot projects instead of large-scale adoption capable of generating positive societal impacts. Ladies and gentlemen, as you already know that the recent pandemic has spread widely, affecting both lives and livelihoods, hitting countries at a critical moment on their paths to achieving the Sustainable Development Goals. The rapid spread and unknown projections of COVID-19 took the world by surprise, which has resulted in a great deal of uncertainty. The AIS Forum would like to encourage all stakeholders based in IAS participating countries to strengthen cooperation and synergize economic instruments to fight the deteriorations of the global economy. It is more important now than ever to strengthen our cooperation, as the COVID-19 pandemic has clearly shown that no country can face a crisis situation on its own. Looking beyond COVID-19, the aftermath of the pandemic represents an opportunity to improve people's lives and stimulate innovation, which is further enhanced by the global transition toward a digital economy. The pandemic and its aftermath is forcing organizations around the world to become more agile and adaptable in the face of mass economic disruptions and to integrate digital transformation strategies into their management schemes. To promote research into novel ideas that can improve the recovery efforts of the current crisis and to enhance future adaptability, the AIS Forum Secretariat has come up with several initiatives that will encourage innovations through R&D and entrepreneurship. The AIS Forum, through the Blue Startup Hub program, will explore novel development opportunities by facilitating knowledge sharing between AIS Forum participating countries, which will produce benefits at local, regional, and international scales. It is one of the doors available to entrepreneurs that are looking to form new connections and find inspirations to solve business-related challenges through innovative solutions. Specifically, the Blue Startup Hub program offers a range of benefits to its members, including platform to engage in the exchange of knowledge, opportunities for networking, the chance to host joint programs, and tools for capacity building. The Blue Startup Hub program will create an international business ecosystem for startups that will allow entrepreneurship to flourish, as well as promote inter-organization cooperation through genuine collaborative partnership. The platform also enables startups, investors, incubators, and accelerators from AIS Forum participating countries to connect by providing resources to help business expand nationally and internationally. Distinguished speakers, participants, ladies and gentlemen, the contributions from every entity present here at this event is one of the key ingredients that will determine the future success of the AIS Blue Startup Hub program. To everyone here in attendance today, you have unique access to innovative and aspiring startup founders and executives who share a passion for innovation, an intellectual curiosity to learn, and also a desire to transform the world through new ideas. Take advantage of this opportunity to ask the question you want to know, learn from their stories, be inspired by their success. Lastly, as William Brody once said, the calculus of innovation is really quite simple. Knowledge drives innovation, innovation drives productivity, and productivity drives our economic growth. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Sora. Thank you very much. It's really wonderful to get support from the Coordinating Ministry for Maritime and Investment Affairs, Republic of Indonesia, for the AIS Blue Startup Hub. Thank you very much. And next, we will have opening remarks from Mr. Jason M.V. Herbert, Business Development Manager at Min Innovation, New Zealand. Hi, Jason. Hi, Jason.
Can you hear me?
Yeah,
Awesome.
are you there?
Yeah. Hello, yes. Hi.
Hi, hi, Jason.
Good.
Nice to meet you here. Yeah, please, the floor is yours.
Sure. Hello, ladies and gentlemen. My name is, first off, thank you to the AIS for this opportunity to speak to everyone. A bit about Mint Innovation. We developed a process that recovers gold from electronic waste using bacteria. The bacteria essentially eats the gold off electronic waste. So in Mint, we're full of entrepreneurs, right? And all great entrepreneurs are creative individuals, but not every creative individual is an entrepreneur. Being an entrepreneur is about constantly improving your idea and eventually develops into something tangible. So at Mint, we took this idea from a very, very small kind of test tube, and we've kind of continuously through innovation developed to a ton per day process, and we will be doing a 10 ton per day process in Australia in the coming year. 10 tons of e-waste is 1 kilo of gold that we're able to recover from a waste stream. Entrepreneurship is the main driving force of innovation and has allowed the rapid transformation of human progress. There's never been a time when we really need the ability of entrepreneurs to find a solution and quickly transform it into a valuable product or service. Given the urgency of climate change and environmental degradation, we are really counting on the businesses, communities to come up with solutions that will address these issues. At Mint, we developed a process that effectively could replace mining. So we may not have to ever mine gold or precious metals ever again, just being able to be more efficient at recovering value from our waste streams. It's for these reasons, it is only right if we encourage more and more entrepreneurs to emerge by providing a support system that will allow them to flourish. Mint, like everyone else in this room, once was a startup and an idea that needed incubation and needed to be accelerated. We started in a basement below a building with a small pilot plant. And it was only because we were part of a community that helped us get to where we are now, which is a 10 ton per day facility. So the critical part is this connection and community with other people and accelerators and people who've done it before or have the knowledge to be able to do it again and assist us through that process. It is why initiatives such as AIS Blue Hub are very important, and every member of the startup ecosystem, from incubators to investors, need to support it. And at Mint, we expect and we hope to support all of you in your ideas. We've got knowledge in biology, chemistry, we have knowledge in scaling, we have knowledge in IP, we have knowledge in marketing. Taking an idea that, when we approach people saying we've got bacteria that essentially eats gold, they told us to leave because they didn't believe us. And it's from our experience of kind of constantly innovating, constantly going forward, that we can share with you guys, and how do we create better ways and articulate what we're trying to do in the world and how we're trying to save it, essentially. Finally, entrepreneurial ecosystems can only flourish when there's strong collaboration between relevant stakeholders, including government, the private sector, civil society, international organizations. The role of the AIS Forum is to convene stakeholders from different island countries that will allow the cooperation to happen and help entrepreneurs like myself to easily navigate different market environments in different countries when we're seeking to expand our business. And with that, we look to work with all of you and absolutely help and kind of be part of this community and assist in any of your ideas and help you kind of develop them into possible solutions. And from Mint, we look to be hopefully developing a facility in your city in coming, 2021, 2022, where we can be recovering gold from your electronic waste. And that is my opening remarks. And thank you so much for your time, guys.
Thank you, Jason. Yeah, with the playback of the video, now the AIS Blue Startup Hub is formally launched. The AIS Blue Startup Hub is meant for the all stages startup and company that especially works in marine related business that can bring impact and have a solution for the growth of archipelagic and island states countries. Please join us by visiting our website aisbluehub.com, aisbluehub.com. And now we will move to the next agenda, which is the talk show with our distinguished speakers and panelists. But before we start, there are several things that I have to mention. First of all, if you have any questions to all the panelists, please put or write your questions in the Q&A box. And for all of you who watch this webinar in the YouTube Live, please drop your question in the comment section. And for all of you who want a certificate, please put your data in the attendance link that we have put in the chat box or Q&A box. Okay, now I want to introduce four distinguished speakers and panelists. The first one is Mr. Nodi Paldrino, which is the Politics and Government Outreach for Facebook Indonesia and APAC. Hi, Mr. Nodi.
Hello,
Hello.
Aditya. Hello, everyone.
Mr. Nodi. Yeah, nice to meet you. Next, we have Mr. Alistair Douglas, founder and partner at Mile Technologies Singapore. Hi, Mr. Alistair.
Hello, everyone. How are you? Nice
Hi.
to meet you. Nice to be here.
Nice to meet you, Alistair. And next, we have Miss Mariko McTire, co-founder of Mizu Japan. Hi, Miss Mariko.
Hi. Thank you for having me. It's a pleasure to be here.
Yeah, it's a pleasure for us to having you too, Mr. Mariko. And last but not least, Mr. Alvin Evander, Head of Synergy and Accelerator at MDI Ventures. Hi, Mr. Alvin.
Hi, Aditya. Hi, everyone. Thanks for having me here.
Yeah, it's really nice to have all of you guys here. Now we will start with introduction. Maybe I want to give opportunity first for Mr. Nodi. Mr. Nodi, I think all of us here know Facebook, we know Instagram, we know WhatsApp, and any kind of your Facebook's products here. But can you share to us what kind of position that you have in the Facebook in Indonesia and APAC? Please, Mr. Nodi.
All right. Thank you, Aditya, and thank you, the coordinating Ministry of Maritime Affairs and Investment of Indonesia. And I would also like to congratulate you guys on all the nice programs and all the very good initiatives that you're building. And as Indonesian myself, I'm very proud to watch the video that was shown earlier, and how the coordinating ministry is leading in gathering all innovators from Asia Pacific, right? And yeah, I would like to introduce myself. So my name is Nodi Paldrino, but people usually call me Rino. I'm currently serving as politics and government outreach for Facebook in Indonesia as well as Asia Pacific. So covering markets such as Malaysia, Vietnam, Brunei Darussalam, Timor-Leste as well. So what we do in this market is we foster collaboration with important stakeholders, and mainly from the government and the political side of things. So what we do is we create programs, we create initiatives together, and usually we create synergy between Facebook as a company and all these important stakeholders as well, and hopefully including the coordinating Ministry of Maritime Affairs moving forward as well. Yeah, so I guess that's a brief introduction of myself, and happy to be here and looking forward to the discussion.
Yeah, thank you, Reino. And now I want to move to Mr. Alistair. Hi, Mr. Alistair.
Hi, hey, hello, everyone.
Yeah. Can you explain to us what is Mile Technologies, please?
Yeah, well, Mile Technologies is a company. It's still a startup. We build technologies and we deploy technologies around supply chains. Most of the time we're working in seafood supply chains, and we're tackling some of the biggest challenges like traceability. How do we get traceability back to the first mile of the supply chain, which is often artisanal or small scale fishers or farmers in developing nations? How do we get the data to identify and verify and reward them for sustainable and responsible production. It's actually one of the biggest challenges of our time, because if we cannot do that, we cannot steer the planet in the right direction. And traceability is indeed one of those major issues that we must address. We obviously work on a lot of partnerships. I don't work just with Each Mile in that sense. I'm also consulting to DSM, which is a multinational corporation in animal, human nutrition and health. And I'm advising them on setting up a hub, an innovation hub for startups. Startups obviously create a solution, but they need to scale. And the best way to scale is to collaborate with multinational corporations. So we are setting up the hub to bring in startups to work on challenges in animal, human nutrition and health in the region. So looking forward to collaborating with everyone at the AIS and all the startups that come through there. Thank you.
I see. Thank you, Alistair. Now I want to move to Miss Mariko. Miss Mariko, can you explain about MyMizu?
Yeah, yes, thank you. So my name is Mariko. I'm co-founder of MyMizu, and we're on a mission to tackle ocean plastics at the source. And so we launched an app last year, which is really looking to change consumer behavior so we can move from single-use plastic, in our initial case, single-use plastic bottles, water bottles, to using a reusable bottle, using a bottle like this that you can keep refilled. And so we created an app where you can find your nearest place to refill. You can, add spots to the app. As a cafe or a restaurant, you can join as well and participate. And by giving out free water to those people who are looking to refill rather than buy bottled water, you can contribute to dramatically reducing the amount of single-use plastic that is used, particularly here in Japan, but we're active globally. In Japan, we consume 252 billion 25.2 billion bottles, single-use PET bottles every year. And so that is a huge amount. And over 15% of those aren't recycled properly. So that's what we're setting out to tackle. We are starting, we say, with the PET bottle and getting people to refill, but our goal is to change consumer behavior overall. And to Alice's point earlier, there's a lot that needs to be done to change behavior on a bigger scale. And so our goal is to start small and then to expand from there.
I see. Thank you, Mariko. Now, Mr. Alvin, can you explain the investment thesis of MDI Ventures and what's your position there, please?
Sure. So I think firstly, thanks for Marcella, AIS team, and also Pak Sora Lokita for having me here from Kemenko Maritim. So regarding, maybe I'll try to introduce a bit of MDI as well before I move on to the thesis. So MDI Ventures is a corporate venture capital of Telkom Indonesia, which is the largest state-owned telco company here in Indonesia. So we've established in 2014. So it's already been our 6 years. We typically invest in a growth stage company, Series A and Series B. And we also invest globally. And so far we already invested in 41 startups until today. So that's a bit about MDI. And other than MDI, we also help Telkom Indonesia to run Indigo Incubator and Accelerator Program, which is one of the largest incubator program in Indonesia. So far, we already incubated over 150 startups. And then going back to Aditya's questions about my role. So I'm the head of Synergy and Accelerator. So Synergy and MDI means I do matchmaking between our investment portfolios and also Telkom Group subsidiaries to create what we call strategic synergy and partnerships to help the startups grow even further. And also my other role, which is the Accelerator Program, I'm being the lead program manager of the Indigo Accelerator Program. And then maybe in terms of investment thesis, so we are actually quite broad, but whenever we invest, we expect our investments portfolios have some sort of strategic partnerships within our group. I think that's the short questions for that, short answers.
Okay. Yeah, thank you, Alvin. Now to begin the discussion, I want to ask Mr. Alistair and Ms. Mariko first. Mr. Alistair, we know that supply chain has been a headache for many parties here all over the world, I think. But my question is, how you come up with the idea about solving the problem and giving a solution for that field, and how you develop your business model for H-Mile Technologies?
Right. Okay. So yeah, with Each Mile Technologies, one of the initiatives we have is called Fishcoin, and it's really been a journey. It's not been something that we thought of the idea and that was it. It was perfect.
Yeah.
It's been a journey. I mean, innovation in the business model is just as critical as innovating a product or a service. We partnered with the US State Department to build MFish, which is a logbook to allow fishermen in developing nations to easily access on 2G browser-enabled phones content and share their data about their fishing activities and their catches. We actually partnered with Facebook and we put it on free basics. It's now in 50 plus countries and it's free to access and use with collaborating telcos. It's in 11 languages. So we really sort of solved the accessibility challenges in terms of the technology and the economic accessibility challenges. Capacity is still a challenge. We have to help them understand why they need to do it and how to do it, how to exchange information, how to access that. But the other key thing is the incentive. What is the incentive for a fisherman to share their data? And we really struggled with that. You have to demonstrate what the return on investment is if you want them to pay for that service. In fact, we decided that actually we need people further down the supply chain who need that data to pay for the data. And who pays what, where, how through a supply chain was very difficult to figure out. And so we needed a market-based mechanism, a negotiation. And it wasn't, it was on June 4th, 2017, with a meeting with a European member of parliament who introduced us to the notion of a token, a cryptographic token that can be an exchange of value. So we have been building this system, but we built it on Ethereum blockchain technology, which was at the time quite immature. The regulation was also immature around cryptographic tokens. So we've had to continually pivot in our business model. We actually raised $7 million in the angel round, of which we actually had to give back. We decided to give it back because we weren't going to execute on the original plan. We've evolved quite a bit, and we're looking forward to running a sandbox trial in East Java together with the TMP2K, which is the national team for the acceleration and reduction of poverty in Indonesia, whereby fishermen can receive these tokens as a reward for sharing their data, but also then redeem them for e-government vouchers so they can have a trip to the doctor or the dentist or pay for educational content. And we're also looking at a sandbox where they can be exchanged into money. So the unbanked can become banked. So I guess I've given a lot of color there, a lot more, maybe too much information, but I think the key thing is that you have to innovate in your business model. You have to also think about what are the supply chain that you're in. You asked a question, I think, about supply chains. And from personal experience, supply chains are often, have systematic risk. There's natural disaster, there's human disaster in the supply chain. I have worked in seafood supply chains that have been disrupted by volcanic ash clouds, by disease, by droughts, floods, and then there's human disasters as well. There is civil wars, coups that have disrupted my supply chain, as well as foreign exchange rates as well. So you really need to understand the supply chain that you're working in. You need to, as best you can, form linkages with the supply chain members that are feeding into your operation. So you can coordinate with them. You need to look at standards and interoperability so you can communicate, you can be agile when you need to shift from one supply chain to another. So you really have to do quite an in-depth risk analysis of your supply chain. Where is the weakest links? How do you address those? And how can you build a resilient supply chain and an ecosystem as such as well with partnerships? So I'll leave it there. That's been a long answer, maybe. I hope that I haven't lost too many people along the way.
Yeah. So you said that building startup is not eureka moment, right?
Say again.
it's not eureka moment. It's like a long journey, not like
It
a
is, but
one
it's a
single
long journey,
moment.
yeah. It certainly is. It's like a lot of supply chains, very often
Yeah,
convoluted and fragmented.
I see.
Obviously, technology has the capacity to help us move from these fragmented supply chains into more coordinated, more cooperative, more collaborative supply chains. Indeed, we have to, because if we don't, we can't have resilience to disruptions like COVID-19, but we can't address the Sustainable Development Goals either. So
I see.
it's
Yeah.
very important. But SDG 17, partnerships within supply chains, is absolutely critical, I think, going forward.
I see. Maybe we will talk about some challenges that you have faced in the past after that. But I want to move to Miss Mariko first. Miss Mariko, I think the topic of sustainability and plastic using, I think that's very, like, a lot of people in the world talk about that, but only maybe some people that have like bravery or maybe have idea to build a business around it. Can you share your story about how you developed the idea and the business model around it, Ms. Mariko?
Sure. I mean, maybe most people aren't stupid enough. I don't know. Yeah. So actually, personally, I've been toying with the idea of how you can leverage technology to create change in consumer behavior for some time, for many years, actually. And it wasn't until I've been, trying to promote this idea of a circular economy here in Japan and how you can reduce the amount of resource you're using, particularly around plastic, but more generally. And the barrier I kept coming across was the fact that, companies are really struggling to communicate with consumers and to figure out, like, what should they be changing in the first place? And then how do they communicate that? And then what I sort of discovered was that, especially here in Japan, but this is a global phenomenon, is that there is a gap between sort of what consumers may feel they want or what is better for the planet versus, what we're currently promoting in our current systems. And so thinking upon that, I actually was on holiday here in Okinawa, South Japan,
Okay.
and I came across this beach which was covered in ocean plastic, the majority of which was PET bottles. And I thought, this is crazy because we live in a country where the tap water is safe to drink. We're incredibly lucky. Japan actually is famous for, spring water, which is really delicious. And so despite that being the situation, the sales of bottled water are going up every year. And I thought, this is so unnecessary. Like, before we start talking about, reducing the amount of resources that we're using and creating a circular economy in the more difficult parts of, society and our supply chains, what if we just started with the most obvious, like, most simple things? And, everyone drinks water. This is globally shared across, water is completely the first thing we use in the morning. It's so easy to understand. And a PET bottle is so easy to get rid of from your life as well. So that's where we're like, okay, cool. Maybe this is where we start. It's simple to understand. We can start from here and then build upon that.
I see. Previously, Mr. Alistair said that the building a startup, building an idea and business model is like a long journey. And but how about you, Ms. Mariko? Do you face like challenges and a long journey before you get the like product market fit, so-called things? Yeah.
For sure, yes. And I think, for me, I'm working obviously on the small startup side of things, but I think this is a challenge whenever you try to develop a new business. For example, for us, we were figuring out, okay, so we have to get as many people as possible using this app. We have to get as many partners joining the platform as possible. Alistair was talking about, SDG number 17, but like, we can't just create a service and say, hey, we're going to provide this to you, please use it, because that doesn't engage people and we don't think it's going to change their behavior. But we were toying with this idea. What if we had, shops and businesses who already have access to tap water, potentially even filtered water, whatever they have? What if they could join a platform and participate in there? The challenge we faced with that is that, we wanted to keep the app free for users and we wanted to keep it free for people who are participating, because, that's how you gain momentum quickly, and we don't have time to waste. And so we knew we weren't going to make money from the app. And so, this is still a challenge for us. We actually have a lot of different sort of areas of business going on where we're creating value outside of the app. So for example, our user base are really interested in sustainable products and services. They want other companies to be providing them with better options. So we're working with a lot of really interesting companies who have committed to doing something that's new and different, and supporting them to do that, both from the ideation to, how do they deliver that to new consumers. We also, for example, the data that we're collecting is all crowdsourced, and it's amazing because people want to contribute and ensure that this is a platform that is usable for everyone. But there are also, other apps for whom this would make a lot of sense to have the same data in their app. So we're currently developing an API, for example, where we could offer this crowdsourced data for use in other apps as well, so that their users can also access the same information. So, sorry, in short, we realized very quickly that the very core of what we wanted to do wasn't going to generate money, but that doesn't matter. But if you can create value elsewhere where people are willing to pay for that.
I see. Interesting insight, but yeah, maybe we will talk about the challenges and some problems that you have faced after this. And now I want to move to Mr. Nodi. Mr. Nodi, I think I should call you Reino, right? Reino, I think Facebook is not a startup anymore, but the company and the products has helped. I'm aware that the product and the company has helped a lot of startups to grow. Maybe you can share to us how like Facebook, Instagram, WhatsApp, and other products of Facebook can help like early stage startup, especially.
Yeah, thanks, Adit. And yeah, we do partner with a lot of companies, like Alistair just mentioned as well. And we do like to think of ourselves as still being in a startup phase. And I mean, in terms of age, we're not that old, right? Facebook is less than 15 years in. So yeah, I think we can still be considered as the late phase startup. But yeah, so right now we have I think 4 major apps, right? So Facebook, Instagram, WhatsApp, and Messenger. Those are the 4 pillars of the companies, and especially in for folks who are in Indonesia, we have started running or deploying our startup support program here. And if you are in Singapore or if you are in Japan, you'll have access to more programs. I do envy this market, but I'm glad to see that for Indonesia as well, the interest from the startup communities are rapidly increasing, right? So there was a big event in my office when we were still able to host event at the office. But I mean, in short, there are 2 pathways on how Facebook can support, right? So the full info on this, all the participants are welcome to access the information from facebook.com/startups. So this is in conjunction with our developers program support as well. And the 2 pathways, the first one is the Facebook accelerators. So this is more to giving access to mentorship, giving access to practical training, and giving access to partners who can collaborate to scale up. And this is a program that is suitable for all of you who are already in the market, but you are looking to grow faster, right? So you can use Facebook accelerators. And of course, this is a supporting program to all the other programs that probably you have enrolled in. And then the second one, which was held here in Jakarta a few months back, is the Facebook Startup Circles, where this is a more suitable program for those who want to start their own business, but they want to be connected with the right partners, with the right startup communities, especially the local startup communities, right? So the main objectives of the later program is actually to build a powerful peer network for the respective countries and the respective market. We also socialize lessons from proven experts, and in some occasion, access to coaching. So those are the 2 pathways for all startup founders, all who are starting and who are initiating the idea. So you can choose whether you want to join Facebook accelerators or you want to join Facebook Startup Circle, and both are accessible through facebook.com/startups, and you're welcome to look at those two programs. I think those are the main programs, Aditya.
I see. Thank you, Reino. And now I want to move to the investor side, Mr. Alvin from MDI Ventures. Alvin, maybe I want to ask you a quite different question, which is, what's exactly the character, like the trait that investor want to see from founders, from early stage founders, especially when you want to invest in startup? Because
Sure.
a lot of them have struggle in like translating ideas to business plan, right? Yeah.
Yes. Yeah, I think I agree on your point about translating idea to business plan, because I think a lot of founders, most of them try to overcomplicate things when they try to pitch to investors. They try to pitch using jargons like what AI, machine learning, blockchain, and stuff, while maybe they don't really understand about it. So for my side, is first thing first is don't try to overcomplicate things. Try to use some even basic language to let your audience and also investors understand your idea. But back to your first questions about the most important trait, I would say is resilience. So based on my experience and in the VC and also running the incubator accelerator, so I think that's the most traits that can affect the successful of startups. So along the way, founders when they just started their business, they start giving up, or they don't really focus on their idea gitu. Whenever maybe investors or other people say something about their business, they might quickly change their idea, change their product. They don't stay focused on their ideas. So I think I'll say resilient is the most important traits in founders.
I see. Thank you, Alvin. And now I want to back to Alistair and Mariko again. Alistair, I want to know how long and how many years that you need to reach a point that, okay, I think this business model can give money to me, something like that. Okay, I think this kind of business model is the most appropriate thing for my startup, something like that. Do you have that kind of phenomena, that kind of event in your journey?
Like I said, there was that meeting with a member of the European Parliament who's a blockchain enthusiast. And we understood that this was an opportunity to build trust in the supply chain. This is essentially what a blockchain or a distributed ledger technology can do. It's really your testimony to the truth, because once it's written in there, you can't change it. It's not a very good database. A lot of people are using it probably in appropriate ways, or talking about it in inappropriate ways as well. We see it as an important way to build trust through the supply chain. We also see it as a very useful way to exchange value. And so the more I've been learning about it, the more I've started to realize that, you know, it wasn't overnight, Aditya. It took some time. But one of the things I guess we also learned was it was as much about the incentive, but it's also as much about the disincentive. There was a disincentive for sharing data. And if you're a fisherman, sharing data that's showing that fish populations are decreasing, then governments are compelled to act. Now, government can only do one thing. They can stop you from fishing, or by reducing your inputs, the number of fishing days, the number of licenses, the number of boats fishing, and when you can fish. They can't help fishermen catch more fish. There's also concerns about corruption. And so a lot of people say, oh, blockchain can just be the gateway for payments and we get the data. But fishermen don't want to pay tax either. There's not a fisherman on the planet, developing or developed nation, that wants to pay tax. So there's always that sort of resistance, but we need to pay tax. We need the government to have revenues to invest in monitoring, compliance, surveillance, research and development, but then give the fishermen ownership of the stock. They have to own the stock, because once they have the stock, they own it, then they're incentivized to protect and grow the fish stock species. So, so that we've got to somehow bridge that and bring it together and deal with these disincentives, if you like. And And so we've constantly been thinking about that, and we have to bring in all these different parties together at some point. We can't do it on our own. The model that we've got with Fishcoin is that we use a market mechanism. So when the fishermen are selling their fish for money, they're negotiating on the value of the data separately to the value of the fish. It's connected to it, but it's a negotiation. And the money comes from downstream actors who really need traceability. If they're trying to sell to, say, Whole Foods in the United States or a particular Sainsbury's in the United Kingdom, they must have traceability, and it must be verifiable going forward. And so they will be the ones that will be paying for that data. And the beauty of that is that once they paid and rewarded the supply chain actors in the developing nations, they're all paying tax to the government to obviously put money towards monetary compliance and surveillance, etc. So for us, it's how do we find the inclusive business model? America mentioned that before. The technology that we're moving to now is called a security token offering. And every time a fisherman shares data, they not only get tokens they can exchange for a mobile top-up, but they can also receive, in the future, they'll be able to receive an equity token. So they actually become investors in the company of or the business of traceability. That is groundbreaking for us. The profits from the company can then they can receive dividend tokens in proportion to their equity tokens, paying tax to the government. So it's very, very exciting technology, and I think we're very excited by the offer at this moment. As I say, we're looking at that sandbox environment to be able to do that. But it has taken an extraordinary long time to realize this. And I said, like I said before, it's not just the maturity of the technology, but very much about the regulation and payments. So you always have to think about the regulatory environment and the legal environment and the tax implications. And how do you get from where you are now to where you want to be, but don't overextend yourself. Things take 2 times, 4 times, 10 times longer than you think. So the key is to make sure you're not like a little boy who runs around the 400-meter race. Don't run out too quickly. You've got to save it for the end. So that's really important.
I see.
Okay.
Yeah. But I think a lot of founders also ask me that there are some kind of like a chicken and egg problem, like as a platform, as a technological company, maybe okay, we want to focus on gaining user first or get a partnership with like a big platform for something like that. Do you face that kind of challenge, and which focus that you choose in the early time of your startup?
Yeah, well, platforms, we see the opportunity for platforms to disrupt seafood supply chains. We don't use the word disrupt. So we basically want any actor within a supply chain to focus on their core competency, add value, and be part of a broader ecosystem. But platforms, yes, we're looking at how they can disrupt the seafood supply chains. There are a lot of challenges in seafood supply chains. There's 12,000 species of seafood. Just identifying the actual species itself is extremely challenging for a lot of people within the supply chain. And they're very convoluted supply chains. But our vision really is traceability first, to verify that the product is legal, reported, and regulated. Then we need data then to support claims of authenticity and safety. And then after that, we want data to verify that it is sustainable and responsible. So that's the journey we've been on. We're starting with legal. A lot of people talk about sustainable, but we forget that 30% of our seafood is actually considered illegal, unreported, and unregulated. So it's a massive, massive challenge. And it's the 6th largest industry in the world, employing, in part or in whole, 1 in 10 people on the planet. It's absolutely critical that we obtain a sustainable seafood industry. But once we've got that, the data through the traceability supply chain enables us to assess the risk for insurance, because insurance is critical, and de-risk for sustainable financing. So the whole thing really is built around this traceability, and then the opportunity to create a platform because you need double the amount of suppliers to the number of buyers, because you need to attract the buyers to the platform. You talked about the chicken and egg before.
Yeah.
How do you get the number of suppliers?
Yeah.
Because as I said, the supply chain can be cut off at any one time by foul weather, like storms, droughts, floods, disease, and then the human disasters, COVID, et cetera. So it's quite a challenge. People are often talking about platforms, but how do you get there? So for us, it's actually, we do seafood trading. We buy and sell seafood, and we introduce the technology to the participants there, and slowly build it up over time. And Indonesia is absolutely mission critical for us. It's one of the biggest suppliers of wild and farm seafood. And we've been working in supply chains that start in Langsa, in Aceh, with the broodstock fishery for the female with the eggs, that go into hatcheries on East Java, that go into farms, then go into processing facilities, and then we import them here into Singapore, and we sell it to the Grand Hyatt, for example. So we're working all the way through the supply chain, and just demonstrating our technology. So that's the approach we take. So trying to solve that. It's a pipeline to a platform. There's a follow the rabbit strategy. I don't know if you've heard of that, but you become a user of your own technology and platform and seed it that way. Does that make sense?
Yeah. Got it. Okay. Now I want to move to Mariko. Miss Mariko, my question is, I think, similar. What is the biggest aspect? What is the biggest push that can help you to get some kind of growth that you have today?
The biggest push we could have. That's a great question. I mean, I can tell you what is not a good push, and that is COVID-19. That definitely put a stop to some of our projects. And so we've definitely had to be creative in coming up with ways to tackle that. But I think on the flip side, there are several things, right? We've benefited hugely from media, for example. Our work is so focused on the consumer and, creating this change in behavior that when, media picks up on what we're doing, that can have a huge impact, like our peak in, the number of app users. We recently had an interview with, a fashion magazine, and for, our whole, what do you call it? Our whole ethos is around like creating this fun, engaging and, attractive future that we all want to work towards. And so being able to work with media where this is what they do day to day, they show this vision of what the future could look like, and having them jump onto what we're doing is a huge boost for what we're doing. I'd say the other side is the corporate partnerships that we're building. And, we've discussed this a little bit already today, but we really cannot change things alone, not just, financially, but also, this requires the whole of society to shift what they're doing. And so we have a number of corporate partnerships started already, and we're building some a little bit delayed thanks to the current situation, but working on that. And I think for companies to realize that there is more that they can achieve by working with a neutral platform like us and with other companies than going it alone is going to be a huge boost as well. So for example, we have the likes of IKEA and Audi Japan, the car manufacturer, coming on, and the first step for them is registering all of their locations across Japan onto the app. It's a relatively small thing for them to do, but it can have a huge impact. It raises the profile and it tells people like, this is, a new normal, as we're calling it now. This is what people can do. And I think that sets an example also to other companies, but also to, their customers who are like, oh, that's something I can do. That's a different that's a different lifestyle that I can choose. So I think, the more companies, and not just companies, but organizations, we work with an increasing number of local governments, for example, who are all trying to tackle waste in their local areas, and looking for new, less human resource intensive ways of doing that. And, we provide a solution for that. So really, the more engaged partners we can bring onto our platform, I think that the more quickly we will succeed in our mission.
I see. So doing,
does that answer your question?
Yeah. So doing partnership and then make the job through their goal is fun. I think that's really insightful. Okay, now I want to move to Reino. Reino, You have shared some initiative from Facebook that okay, you can help startup, but can you share to us like the case, the good case that where Facebook has helped startup and the startup become successful? Can you share something like that?
Yeah, I mean, I think from Indonesia side, it's getting harder and harder these days, especially for us in Indonesia, to differentiate between SMEs and startups as well. Some SMEs has actually switched themselves to a more startup format. But actually, on the three pillars that we focus on for the last year, there were a lot of good case studies from the business side, and this is including. I mean, if you read the last news that the investment in Gojek as well, right? So I fully agree that from the global perspective, I think Facebook's leadership agree that to achieve things even in countries who are as progressive, as dynamic as Indonesia, it's quite impossible for us to do it alone. Hence, we are building all these partnerships with the local startups as well. So on the startup side, there are a lot of good case studies. How we collaborate with these local startups and actually achieve bigger things. I really hope the partnership with Gojek will lead us to a good collaboration as well. And I do hope I can still call Gojek a startup, right? So you guys know better than me. But it's certainly one of the biggest startups in Indonesia. So let's see what that brings us. In terms of the other side of the business, I mean, Facebook is always about social media, right? And sometimes when we're helping startups, so there are a lot of names who join the Facebook startup circle when it was hosted in our Jakarta office. But also how they use the platforms, right? And I think most of the SMEs and some startups are actually focusing on this. And to Alistair's point as well, a lot of startups who are in the fisheries business are actually using our platforms to promote their business. I think the way we help them, I don't want to name brands, but there were certain brands who keep popping up on my Instagram feed, selling their fish products, right? And I think the way we help these startups is to enable a more streamlined distribution process. So instead of going only from B2B, now they can go direct to the consumers. And I've actually been in touch with one of them from the fishery business, and they said that being able to direct their market to the consumers is helping them massively, right? Especially with COVID-19 phenomena, many of their business collaborations, joint ventures, joint operations are actually on hold. But now the social media side of things help them to, some of them are able to expand, some of them manage to survive in this crisis, right? And I think that's the most important point. And I think I do have some interesting numbers that I want to share. So we did a survey back in, I think this was from April. It's a worldwide survey from coronavirus pandemic research. So we're looking at the desire to stay connected, right? So how social media and the digital world is impacted. And I think this is really important for those who are looking for marketing channels and those who are asking questions whether social media and the digital side of things will still be relevant in the midst of COVID. So from the surveys, 70% of the respondents said that they spend more time on their smartphone. 45% mentioned that they spend more time on messaging. And 45% mentioned that they spend more time on social media. So to put it in perspective, for us here in Indonesia, the average number of social media usage per day already reached 3.5 hours, right? So if it's 45% increase, I myself can't count on the hours that we spend on social media during COVID-19. So I think this is an important trend to share, especially for those who are looking for marketing channels. We've been told that a lot of our partners' marketing channels have been impacted. And definitely the digital media side, in particular social media, can still help you to achieve your target.
I see. Thank you, Reino. Yeah, because I think because the many people all over the world are using Facebook products. I think naturally it's good for startup to using the Facebook products to their benefit, right? Yeah. Okay.
Yes,
Now,
hopefully.
yeah. Because the main purpose of this webinar is we hope like after this all the participants can get some idea and then build some business model around it. And now I want to give opportunity to Mr. Alvin. So Mr. Alvin has prepared prepare a lean canvas model, yeah, and then he took one example which is online learning solution, right? And he will demonstrate how we can build a business model around an idea. So please, for all the participants, please take a closer look to the Mr. Alvin's example, and then maybe you can get some idea and understand how entrepreneurs usually develop their business idea. Please, Mr. Alvin.
Okay, thanks, Aditya. So I assume everyone can see my screen now.
Yeah, we can see it.
Okay, cool. As Aditya mentioned before, I'll try to explain on this lean canvas about online learning businesses as set by the AIS team. So I'm using this tool where you can see it step by step when I try to fill in the lean canvas. So if you can see from the right hand side, so we're gonna start first from the customer segments because I think it's the most important way when. Of course, when you want to start a business, so you need to know who is your customers, and also most important is the early adopters, which like small target market that you want to target first. So for example, for this online learning business, so I'll say the customers are students from primary to high schools, and also student parents, because I believe in this case most students didn't have their own money to pay for tuition. So I think it's good to target the parents as well. And then the early adopters, I included, let's say students that already studying online. So you don't need to find some students who might not haven't heard anything about online learning. So I think it's easier to target those who already familiar with the solution, and also the student parents who is relatively young, so they understand about technology. And then number two, we move on to the problem. So I'll say the problem is number one for online learning business. What they're trying to solve is to find quality and affordable educations, and also needs of online learning during COVID-19 pandemics. As you all know, in Indonesia, the schools are still closed, probably until end of this year, based on what I heard. So right now, basically every school, every education institutions use online tools like Zoom, Google Meet, and other things to conduct their lessons. And I would say the existing alternative globally. So this I also mentioned some big global players like VIPKid in China. So it's the #1 English learning platform in China, and also there's Byju's from India. So it's a K-12 online learning platform in India, and also in Indonesia we have Ruang Guru, which is I would say the biggest education technology platform here in Indonesia, covering from primary, high school, and also for workers. So that's the problem for online learning business. So the next one is revenue streams. So when you start a business, it's also important to think about how you monetize your business. So based on my research on the online learning solution, the most makes sense thing to do is to offer the users subscription for classes. So it's the same when like students go to a bimbel or school or they pay a monthly fee for that. And also maybe if someone who just want to try 1 or 2 times, they can pay per use classes and also pay per tryout if they have tryout features in the platform. And then number 4, the solutions, simple. Basically, we want to build a platform to connect teachers and students, and also an online learning solution. So, okay, this is the UVP. So number 1, access to good quality educations. Number 2, engaging and personalized education contents. And 3 is private learning environment for students. So number 1, when you launch an online learning business, I think number 1 is you need to have a good quality education for everyone. So for example, in Indonesia, let's say if you live somewhere in small cities in, let's say, in east side of Indonesia, you might not have the same quality of teachers in Jakarta. But by using this online learning business, you actually can get the same quality of teachers and educations with all those teachers in big cities. So that's number 1. Number 2 is engaging in personal education contents. So I believe every people is unique and different. They might have different needs and different passions on education. So I think personalized content is important as well. And also private learning environment. By using technology, you can make the environment is look like a private courses, different with let's say in a class where one teacher teach to like 5 to 10 students. In using the platform, you can make the environment as look like a private environment. And in a high level concept, basically is what I'm trying to target is online learning platform for K-12 students, so from primary to high school. Okay, and then number 6, channels. I think this is obvious. If you are a digital platform, you need website and mobile apps to promote to users. And also, as Rhino mentioned, Facebook and Instagram, social media play a big part to help these startups to reach more people. And then the key metrics. So this is the metrics that let's say investors look at through startups like this. So I will say monthly active users, or we usually call it MAU. So it's basically a unique users that visited your website or your apps at least once a month. So that's number 1, the key metrics. And also the MRR, what we call monthly recurring revenue. So it's basically the revenue from your subscription that keep adding monthly. So I think those are 2 metrics which is very important for a SaaS or online learning businesses. And then cost structure. Of course, when you develop a business, you need to cost, let's say, a development cost of website and apps, and also cost for data center server, marketing and customer acquisition, and also, of course, salary for your operation team. And lastly, unfair advantage. So I think this is, I would say, the most important part of this canvas, because whenever you pitch to investors, I think this is the thing that most investors look, because advantage is basically what do you have that others people don't. So because whenever you pitch to investors, they're gonna ask who are your competitors, who are your benchmark, and this is unfair advantage things that might make you looks different. So in this case, I make an assumption. This company already have a strategic partnership with leading education institution, and also strong founders with, let's say, 10 years experience in education industry. So I think with these 2 points, it shows to investors that you guys have advantage if you compare it to other competitors or other players. So I think that's all for me, Aditya.
I see. Thank you, Alvin. Yeah. Yeah. So for all participants, if you want to build a business, I think it's better to follow. I think this kind of canvas. I think the template is available online, so you can search, you can googling it, and then you can fill the template using how Alvin has explained before. yeah, I think we will move to the question and answer. So for all question and answer session, so for all of you who want to ask questions to all panelists here, to all the distinguished speakers here, you can put it in the Q&A box below. And for all of you who watch using the YouTube, you can put it on the comment section. Yeah, now I have first question, which is from Rega from Indonesia. The question is to all speakers, but I think Alvin has a better position to answer because you just described the canvas. So the question is, generating idea is quite tricky in startup. Sometimes we get idea and we try to dig in, but turns out someone already do it. I think maybe someone already do it in the same country or other country. The concept is not 100% similar but identical. In this case, is it good to still go with our idea? Please, Alvin.
So okay, hi Rega. So I'll try to I'll try to answer your questions based on my experience. So it's actually, I would say it's good. Whenever let's say when you start an idea, you might have or see someone else in other parts of the world already started first. It's actually a good sign. So it means that the idea is valid. Someone is already doing it in other part of the world, and it's actually a good start to start developing your idea and your businesses, because they're not here, they're not Indonesia, and let's say if they come to Indonesia, they might not have the what we call local wisdom here. As you're Indonesian, Indonesia market, you know your market better. So I'll take one case. I'll just mention the names. I'll take the case Uber and Gojek. So let's say when Gojek started building the app, I think it's 2014. Uber with the same business model already start way back, right? They're a bigger company. When Gojek just started, Uber is already a unicorn, already $1 billion over a company. But in reality, when they try to enter Indonesia, they can't beat Gojek, and they just sell out their business after a few years trying to beat the local player here. So that's what I'm trying to say is, if you have an idea and you have a passion and you believe in your idea that you can build it to be something big, just go for it.
Okay, thank you, Alvin. Yeah, and then the next question is for Miss Mariko. Miss Mariko, there is a question from I is come from Indonesia. So I is building a water-based hand sanitizer product, and she or he, I don't know. So she want to eliminate plastic bottles in the project, but because the plastic bottle, she actually want to use glass bottle, but I think it's expensive and it's against the consumer behavior. So people in Indonesia like to use plastic bottles. So the project still use plastic bottle because it is cheap and efficient. It's actually against my idea. I said to eliminate the plastic, but I must use this plastic bottle for now to educate the people slowly. What's your comment or suggestion, Mariko? Actually, she want to eliminate plastic bottle, but because the user behavior, she still use it. Please.
Yeah, I mean, it's a challenge, and I think this is what people are facing around the world. We know that there is a better alternative, but how do you create an offering around that? And I think that there's so many different ways you could approach this. It really is all about incentivization, and Alistair was talking a lot about incentives earlier. But if you're a consumer and you're buying something in a plastic bottle and it's cheap, and you just throw it away when you get home and no one's going to say anything, why would you change that? But for example, if there's in Europe, we've seen deposit systems, for example, where you mark up a little bit the cost of what you're selling, but then you get your money back if you take the container back. With a glass bottle, yes, if you just replace it with glass, and don't tell the story of why you're doing that and why it's important, then the likelihood is people will just be like, well, it's heavy or it's dangerous, or whatever the argument is, and not be willing to change to a different option. But if you can tell a good story, ultimately I'll ask anyone who's listening today, do you like nature? Would you like to, ensure that we have beautiful oceans and that we have beautiful forests? I think there'll be very few people who would say no. And I think most of us, if given the choice, would do our part to contribute to that in some way. And so I think it really is about how you present that as a choice. You say, look, okay, so maybe it's a few, I don't know, yen in my case, more expensive, or maybe, it's going to take a little bit more time for you to do. Maybe it's actually no different in terms of the commitment that you have to make, but it is different and you have to think about it and you have to make a conscious decision. But you need to communicate the value of that and why is it important and what is the impact going to be. And I think if you can get people to realize what that impact will be, they'll be much more incentivized to change. If I just add one more thing, on the MyMisa app that we developed, we have a function for people to track the refills that they've made. And I think to date, I can't remember the exact number, we've tracked tens of thousands of refills since we launched the feature earlier this year. And that was really motivated by this fact that, as one person, you can feel like your individual actions have no impact. But if you see both the cumulative actions, the cumulative action of your own impact, but also that times the tens of thousands of people are doing the same thing, then you can see like, oh, okay, that little bit of effort I made had a huge impact. So yeah, I would say it's all about storytelling and incentives.
I see. So first of all, the storytelling about the nature, and I think all of us agree that we all love nature. And then the second thing is giving incentive to change the behavior of users little by little. Yeah. Oh, yeah, very interesting. And now the next question, I think Mr. Alistair can answer it. The question is from Adrio. Adrio is from Far Eastern Federal University of Russia. He has an idea to making startup in Indonesia, focus on fashion eco-friendly. But even in a small scale, startup need budget. And the question is how we get to build a startup in the beginning without any budget right now, and also how to sustain our startup. Please, Mr. Alistair. How to enter a new country and then start business there, but without any kind of maybe investor at the first time.
Well, yeah, entry is a challenge, but obviously just any startup, you have to have a budget to begin with. And often they refer to it as family, friends, or fools, just jokingly, but often that's where startups do, begin with family helping to fund it. And you had companies like Apple starting in family garages. A number of companies have started in family garages. But as you scale, and I think Alvin will obviously contribute here, but as you need to get some sort of minimal viable product if you're trying to sell some product or some service. The key is not to invest too much time and money to get to that MVP. The idea really is to fail fast and cheaply and learn quickly. So iteration is very, very important. And as soon as you can get customers or a prototype, then it's time to go to maybe the angel investors and take a move away from family and friends. There also, depending on what you're doing, there's an opportunity to get grants. There's a lot of grants around, and matched funding as well. So you think of ways to leverage that first bit of investment through grants and things like that. Entry into other countries is always difficult. I think how do you, for the market that you're in, you really need to try to build a competitive moat. I guess Alvin mentioned it before, that unfair advantage. But who in that market is someone who's got experience that can come on as an advisor or in your advisory board and really help you and steer you in that country, because you need help, especially if you're not familiar with the rules and regulations, the supply chains, who holds the power, who you're going to disrupt potentially. People try to apply logic to a challenge and not realize they do the 5 whys. They must find out who is holding on to the power. I think my question for America too is that when you have these sorts of partners who are making money from selling water, from bottled water, and they're obviously disincentivized by actually setting up a station, say in a 7-Eleven. But if you could get someone like 7-Eleven, wow, you know, if they can say, right, yeah, we shouldn't be selling bottled water, it's ridiculous. And we should have a my music. That's, you know, if you can get that, then you've really got traction, you've got scale. So it's who's going to help you scale is the next thing, and who's going to be a barrier. You really have to do your homework. From here, I'll probably defer to Alvin because he's going to be a little bit more knowledgeable, I think, on that than I. Alvin, if I put you on the spot.
Yeah, I think, yeah, Alvin, you want to add?
No, I just a bit again interesting questions gitu. Of course, whenever you want to start your business, you have at least need a bit of capital. It can be from your own savings, because I believe like if founders don't put their own money to start their own business, I don't think they're really serious about the business. I think that's first thing first. Regarding a capital, so I think I would say there are a lot of options. Let's say if you are early stage startups, there are a lot of options, a lot of incubator, accelerator program. Let's say in this forum, AI just launched the Blue Startup Hub. In Telkom, we have Indigo, which is specifically targeted for early stage startups. And we have all this incubator and accelerator program all over these regions as well. In Singapore, Malaysia, there are a lot of programs that you can explore. So I would say it's better to have a bit of capital when you just start your business. But again, stay lean, use the minimum resources as possible before you validate your idea and also business model.
I see. Thank you, Alvin.
If I could just jump in on that,
please.
sorry.
Yeah, please, Mariko.
I think, you know, we very much took the lean approach, and we launched a pilot app, a beta version of our app about 2 months after we said, cool, we're going to do this. It was, you know, someone who we were introduced to, who was a developer, who said, look, I can create something that's really simple. I'll do it on the weekends. He basically did it for free because he really cared about what we were trying to achieve, and made our MVP. And, you know, design wise, it really wasn't beautiful. It had very limited functionality. But what it did do was enable us to prove that there was a demand both on on 3 fronts. You know, people who wanted to use the app to find water, people who wanted to sign up for the app and provide that water and have new people coming into their businesses, and also companies who wanted to work with us to develop new solutions. And we were able to do that on very, very little budget. The other thing that we did was to run a crowdfunding campaign. And I wouldn't recommend this for everyone because it can take up a lot of your time. But if you have a good story to tell and you think a lot of people will support you, and you think, you know, other people would be willing to part with money to see what you believe in come to fruition, then crowdfunding is also an excellent way to build, you know, your initial funding. I think we raised about $30,000 at the end of last year to build our next version of the app and to, you know, really boost what we were doing early on. And that was a huge benefit to us. And lastly, what Alvin was saying about accelerator programs too, we've been very fortunate. You know, UNDP runs a program here in Tokyo. We also participated in a program from Tokyo local government. Neither of those provided funding, but what they did do, for example, we have a subsidized office right now. There are lots of other ways that we've benefited through participating in those programs. And, you know, they can be really critical, especially at an early stage.
I see. So I think first of all, you have to do your homework. I think you have to research first about the user behavior in the new country. And then, yeah, if you still need money, maybe you can looking for a grant, maybe you can join accelerator too, maybe you can use your own money, something like that. Yeah, I think it's pretty much answered the question.
Hackathons are also a great way to get in there and learn. So hackathons and challenges. And you might win a prize, you might find your co-founder there as well. So, yeah. There's a lot actually now when the whole team comes together and provides input. There's a lot of things, a lot of different ways.
Yeah, from kind of program, accelerator or hackathon, you can not only get money maybe, but maybe also get some partner or co-founders. Like,
actually, I'll might do a little plug here. We have responsibility to run the hackathon, the fish hackathon.
Yeah,
the world's largest environmental hackathon in the past.
I see.
We inherited the responsibility from global partnerships with the US State Department. And the last one was in 33 countries, more than 3,300 developers in 30 plus countries and 44 cities. And we're looking to run it again this year, at the end of this year if we can. But we're also looking to run it in Indonesia. So if there's any people out there in Indonesia listening now that want to build or be part of the Fish Hackathon, then they can contact me and we can go from there.
I see. Thank you. And maybe, yeah, thank you, Alistair. And maybe Reino, I think it's better for people or founders who want to enter Indonesian market to understand the user behavior of Indonesian people, right? And I think a lot of Indonesian people are on Facebook, Instagram, and WhatsApp. Maybe you can give us like insight about how to approach them for like foreign people they want to enter Indonesian market.
Yeah, I guess I mean, knowing the market is definitely always crucial, but also to build the network here, right? Yeah, again, like Alvin mentioned, your idea might not be the only one out there, but that's not a bad thing. We have a lot of startups growing in Indonesia as well. And you should be open to collaborating with the local startups as well. So I think the building that network, and there are a lot of programs. I think every unicorns that we have in Indonesia now do a lot of programs for startups as well. There are a lot of global tech companies like Facebook and others who have accelerators trying to. You can try to build the network from that kind of programs as well. And also participate in this kind of programs, right? I remember not a long time ago, one year back, there was this startup. They used to be the hot topic in town for us here in Indonesia, Clue, if you guys remember. So Clue joined Facebook startup programs as well. And they got a lot of opportunities to network, to expand their peers and collaborations. They were invited to our HQ in the US, and I heard from my colleague who's responsible that they really capitalized on the visit to expand the knowledge as well. So knowing your market is really crucial. I think that's true for every business. Definitely use things like social media. You have social media listener platforms that you can use. Know the latest trends of the Indonesia market. We are increasingly on for example, of 99% online activities by Indonesians. We actually spend those 99% on online videos, right? And this kind of small trends can build up your insights to the market, and I think it's really important. And then secondly, yeah, participate in all these programs. I think many companies have deployed a very good programs, especially in Indonesia. And if you do join this kind of programs, not only you can build your network, but that's a free knowledge to our market right there as well.
I see. Thank you, Reino. And next question is very interesting. I think I will give opportunity to Alvin. The question is, some people say the most important element in starting a business is not people, money, or product, but timing. Timing, they say, is everything. They often give the example of Uber after the 2008 crisis. Is it true? The question is it true that timing is everything? If yes, then how do we know that is the right time to enter the market? Maybe the question is, do we have to wait for the right timing or just start now? Alvin, please.
Sure. First thing first, you won't know when is the right timing. Yeah, everyone will not know. Yeah, unless you are.
Yeah, it's $1 billion question. Right?
Unless you're a time traveler or something, you won't know when is the right timing. So I agree, timing is very important. But without people, product, and market, your startups won't go big as well. So yes, timing is important. I would say during this COVID-19, I believe there will be new startups coming. I would say maybe in education or in health sector. is thriving, and also in logistics, I'll say is thriving right now because of COVID-19. So that might be a good timing to launch this kind of startups. But again, back to my first statement, timing is, I would say, the most important thing, but it's not everything. You still need good people, good team, good founders, who create a good product, and also a market that is big enough for your startups. So I think that's my answers.
I see. So your suggestion, your suggestion for founders is like just launch the product right away, or wait for some kind of quote unquote timing, or what?
Just launch, but it's very important to validate your idea, because sometimes your first idea might not work, or I would say won't work. your first kind of idea. That's why we have terms that called pivot. So it will happen anyway, from your first idea until you build your startups throughout the years. You will have some sort of pivot moment along the way.
I see. Thank you, Alvin. Mariko, your opportunity now. Is it true that timing is everything? And if yes, how do we know that it's the right time? And what is the best way for startups? Just launch right away, or wait for the timing?
I wouldn't say timing is everything. It's certainly a critical factor, because if you get, if there's no demand, you're not going to have a market. But in a way, sort of, I think timing underlines all the other factors. So, can you gather the right people? Is there a market for you? I think if we'd started talking about plastic, a year or two ago, it would have been very different. And we did somewhat rush our launch because it's been delayed now, but we had the Tokyo Olympics coming up, for example, Olympic and Paralympic Games. And, this is a moment where, we were starting to see that there was a greater awareness, and there were opportunities for us to, leverage sort of the buzz that was going on around, the Olympic and Paralympic Games and various things like that. But obviously that's been delayed. We're still currently dealing with COVID-19. So timing isn't great, but we can still work around it and find other opportunities. So I would agree with Alvin that, it's the people, and, even if the timing wasn't perfect, can you use your know-how and the resources available to you to figure out some other opportunity that maybe the timing is better for at that time. That's my own take on it.
I see. Thank you. Alistair, what do you think?
Yeah, well, so many companies have been disrupted, obviously, by COVID-19 and opportunities lost, but many have been created as well. So the timing of the event has been both fortunate and unfortunate. On a business level, obviously globally, and public health and everything else, it's awful. I opened up a joint venture. I worked for a year and a half with one of the largest logistics companies here in Singapore. And we opened our doors 3 months before the earthquake in Japan, the tsunami, and then the nuclear meltdown. I had employed people from Japan. I had a company in Japan that was doing exporting, and I had brought Japanese people over, and we'd set up a facility, and suddenly everything was shut down. And sometimes you sit there and you're miserable, and you're complaining about everything, and you realize that people lost their lives, not just their livelihoods in that time. So you have to, be prepared that sometimes these things just happen. But you meet the right people at the right time. You have things come together, but you really just want to be prepared. You want to have the structure in place. You want to have the people ready. You want to have as much as you can. Minimize your burn rate, whatever it is of resources. Extend your runway as long as you can, because the opportunity may present itself. And if you can act quickly, you're going to seize the opportunity. So, it's one of those things. It's hard to plan for. You have to have a bit of a crystal ball sometimes on some things, but do all the work, do all the background work, get everything ready for when an opportunity does present itself.
I see. So prepare yourself, and when the opportunity is come, you can seize it. Thank you, Alistair. Reno, do you want to add something?
Oh, timing.
Yeah.
I mean, I completely again agree with Alvin. We can't really understand how timing works. I mean, it's one of the most crucial, and I think people have been fortunate, people have been unfortunate, like Lester has mentioned. I think only one of the factors that I always suggest, and when I join a company at the scale of Facebook, uh, the fortunate part is you see a lot of success stories, right? And you're encouraged by it. You listen to good news, but also on the other side, you also know that many people are facing unfortunate situation, and mainly because of timing. I think one of the critical part to navigate around this variable is actually to build a strong risk assessment system. And that's what we do in our teams, in our respective teams at Facebook as well. So we always try to think ahead, at least 4 to 6 months time frame, and it's been really helpful, right? And this year is a perfect resemblance of the importance of risk assessment. When COVID-19 strikes, we sort of sat down together and brainstorm what we're going to do in the next 6 to 8 months. And because we have many programs in the pipeline, of course we have to accept the reality that some of our collaboration, some of our programs might not be there, right? And it have to be canceled. But the important point is, if you have a goal and you know and you have a risk assessment that is strong, that is solid, you can navigate around the uncertain variables like timing, and hopefully still achieve your goal. So I think that's what I've learned from Facebook. I think global tech companies are pretty good at risk assessment. They're pretty good at mapping all the relevant stakeholders to interact with during tough times, right? And also the allies. The allies are really important during this uncertainty this year, especially during COVID. Again, I have to restate all over again that we can't be alone, right? And all major companies in the world are facing such a difficult situation, and they can't be alone. So if you're initiating your idea, or if you're starting your startup, try to build as many allies as possible.
Yeah, I think I agree. I think one of the example to get an ally, or maybe to understand the good timing, is joining a program like AIS Startup Hub. Yeah. Okay, the next question is quite interesting regarding COVID-19. I think I will give the first opportunity to Alistair. So the question is how to build a startup in this COVID-19 situation. I think the question is more not only how to build, but also how to survive, Alistair.
Yeah, I think that's $1 million question. You have to, for my mind, really look at every aspect of your business and what your solution is, clearly understand it, and then think about, okay, do I need to build and invest and own, or can I lease something? Can I, bring components together that already exist? Can I use open source technologies? Go to GitHub, and when it comes down to hiring staff, maybe don't hire staff, but hire consultants, bring in interns, but also how do you bring a team together and have shared ownership? So think about the equity structure as well. That's very important, that sort of incentive as a team to navigate this sort of challenges in a COVID environment. What else? Yeah, just you have to be agile. And trying to predict what a post-COVID world looks like right now is pretty hard. Our business model was very much on the trading side, B2B. I have many tons of seafood now sitting there that I can't sell. So I'm moving more to a B2C model, so a B2B2C side of things, evaluating and looking at how we can convert some of the seafood we have into pet food, which is something we've been looking at doing anyway. But from a waste perspective, but now we have to think outside the box. It's very challenging. I open it up to the panel though.
Thank you, Alistair. Next, Mariko, what are your thoughts about the COVID-19 situation? How you deal with it?
Yeah, I mean, it's really a matter of how quickly can you adapt and how nimble can you be, I think. And we were very fortunate in that, Alistair was saying, do you want to have full-time team, for example? We have a very agile team and we haven't, let anyone go from our team, but equally, everyone is so on board with like, okay, cool, well, that's not going to happen anymore, but we can very quickly shift to here. And if we need to, we can bring on additional support to do that. Equally, we can, bring someone's hours down if necessary. So we've tried to maintain as much agility as possible. I think this sort of harks back to the conversation we had about timing earlier. But there are lots of opportunities that are coming out. And like I said, we lost projects, we had things postponed, but at the same time, there are now things, especially for a technology based solution, where you may be able to provide a service or a solution that wasn't as important before. And I don't need to talk about conferencing tools, we've all seen that, of course, but looking more into other areas where people are spending more time at home, or they are realizing that, oh well, maybe I can communicate, or maybe I can work with people in another country without having to travel there. Like, there are going to be new opportunities. There already are new opportunities coming up. So I think just being able to seize those as quickly as possible. And I think that's where, bigger corporations are really struggling, because they are so big and they have, teams built around specific, I can't think of the English word, sorry, like areas of business. Whereas like if you're a small team, you can be like, cool, well, you were working on this, but now we're going to shift you to this very quickly. That's an opportunity to do so. So, for ourselves, we were doing a lot of offline events and engagement, which really required people to come together. And we had to say, okay, well, that's not going to happen for, the foreseeable future. So we've shifted online. We've been running, hackathons, ideathons, workshops, seminars online, using Instagram. It's an amazing tool. Like, Instagram Live is an amazing way for us to reach out to our community and have them engage with us in a way that's not as good as being in person, but actually enables us to reach out to people who aren't, where we are. So we have people joining from across Japan. We have people joining from Germany. Like, there are also, benefits to using new tools as well. So sorry, I rambled a little bit, but I think there are new opportunities, and just figuring out like what are new ways that you can do things that enable you to deliver the value that you can in a world where maybe we have to change things up a little bit.
Yeah, thank you, Mariko. I think it's same with in Indonesia. I think a lot of offline events are canceled, but people are quickly moved into webinar like this and Instagram Live. I think we see a good trend there. Okay, Alvin, maybe the last for the topic. What are your suggestions to your portfolios to deal with this COVID-19 crisis?
So yeah, number one, agree on Mariko and Alistair's point. You need to adapt quickly, because this thing, like, everyone won't know this COVID thing will happen. So as a founders, you need to adapt to this situation quickly. Try to find other businesses or other features or product that might bring more revenue. But let's say if, for example, if you are in travel industry, I don't think you have an options right now. So I think the best way for them is to just stay alive, cut non-essential costs, keep the burn rate minimum, try to stay alive at least for another 6 months, because hopefully at the end of this year or start of next year, people can start traveling again. So that's one of the example of for my travel startups. But for others in other industries, let's say if there are a few industries that actually thriving, like I mentioned before, education, health, and logistics. So it's actually a good time to invest more on your company. Try to raise maybe new investment and try to grow as quickly as possible. Try to seize the moment. Yeah,
I see. Thank you, Alvin. Yeah, we have like around 200 participants here, and the question is coming up. Thank you for all participants. Now, maybe the next question is for Alistair and Alvin. Most successful startups are usually founded by more than one people, but I am the only founder in my company. So what type of person should I have on board as my co-leaders or co-founders? Alistair, how you choose your co-founders?
My co-founder, who may even be listening right now, from South Australia.
Careful what you say.
I've known, there's another Alistair actually.
Oh, wow.
We became friends and colleagues back in the 90s, working on tuna research together. And we know each other very, very well, and we trust each other very much, and we complement each other very much. We're about to bring in another gentleman that we've also known for 10 years into our group, who has extreme experience and wealth of knowledge, and we consider him a friend as well. Not to say that it's always best to find a friend, and it's not always best to find someone just like you. In fact, it's often better to find someone that complements you and has strengths where you have weaknesses. And that can lead to conflict, but as long as it's constructive, conflict is not a bad thing. You don't want to surround yourself with people that are often telling you, oh, yes, 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 you know, the yes people. You want people to actually say, no, I don't agree, I disagree. So it's very important that you have people that have the strength of character, and that you have the strength of character to accept it and bring it into your organization. So yeah, it's hard to find the right co-founder, and it's in many respects more stressful than a marriage. I spend more time with my co-founders on the phone than I do with my wife and kids some days, well, most days. And so it's really, really important that you have an open, strong relationship, and conflict is fine. You have to accept it and grow with it. So that's kind of my advice on sort of finding a co-founder. Now, where do you find them? Well, I think some of the places we've mentioned before, hackathons and you know, accelerators, incubators, and then people that can match you up as well. So Antler are doing some of that now. Co-founder. So there are groups that are trying to operate in this space to help you find the best co-founder. So I'll hand it over to the panel with that one.
Okay, so the main insight is understand your strength and weakness first, and then find someone who can complement that. Okay, Alvin, do you have another suggestion?
Yeah, sure. So totally agree with Alistair. Like, conflict is important when you build your startup. I would say solo founder is not ideal. Again, when you start a business or an idea or startups, you need someone who challenge your idea. If you don't have someone besides you challenging your ideas, you might end up being working on the wrong ideas, I would say. So I would say the ideal composition is 3 founders, but minimum 2, I would say. So let's say if you are a sales or marketing guy, you need the tech co-founders who might complement you, or vice versa. And again, there's a new type of program like Alistair Antler or Entrepreneur First, when you came in as a solo founders, and they can try to match you up through this program. Maybe you can try that up as well. But I believe the best co-founders is people that you've known and worked before. I think that's the best type of co-founders that you need to choose, and also people who you've known for a long time, like a childhood friend or something like that. Yeah, I think that's all.
I see. Thank you, Alvin. Next question for Mariko and Reino, maybe. The question is, in building a strong team, what is the better approach for certain companies in a certain stage to choose the right leadership style? Become a pirate or navy? So maybe pirate is referring to informal style, and navy is to formal style. Maybe Mariko, you can begin?
I don't know what
What is
category. I think I'm definitely
yeah.
on the pirate side of things. I mean, I think it depends a lot on who is in your early team and what is your own preference. Like my style is very much, you know, empowering people to do their thing and being as, you know, little involved as possible. Just, you know, providing the framework that they need in order to do that. And I find that people have flourished when I've done that. And, you know, not really setting, you know, really strict boundaries, or like, you know, we have a morning stand-up meeting, which is just a quick, you know, what's the word, catch up, like what challenges are we facing, what needs to get done, like, you know, what can we celebrate. But apart from that, you know, people can set their own hours that, you know, I trust them to be flexible in how they work. And I think people really appreciate that, and the trust comes through. That said, not everyone functions well in that environment, and we actually just brought someone else on the team, for example, who I think needs a bit more structure, and you know, we're adapting because of that, and you know, we have to provide the right solution, I think, for the specific makeup of the team, because he's obviously bringing in skills that we value enough to adapt our style for that too.
I see. Thank you, Mariko. And Reno, can you explain what is the leadership style in Facebook and how it's beneficial for the company? Yeah, please.
Yeah. We are. I think this year we're around 40,000 people globally, if I'm not mistaken. So we have plenty of teams in the company. And yes, there are a lot of navies, there are a lot of pirates, but also important in the long term. And I guess the more important factor to prepare since the early days is how you build a strong system so the pirate and the navy can actually work together, right? Because sometimes the bigger your team grows, you never know what kind of characteristics that you get in someone, right? Especially from the perspective of a company like Facebook. Sometimes I have to deal with new employees with completely different characteristics, with completely different cultures, and we do work globally, right? So we work with different with teams in different countries, and I think the system actually puts us together. So no matter the leadership style, I do myself, I do prefer probably I'm more to the Navy side. So a little bit more structure would help, a little bit more plan, clear goals would help. But I've seen also people who never even have a plan, but they thrive in what they do, right? And in a company with 40,000 plus people, you need to make that work. And I think the most crucial part from Facebook and my earlier organization as well is to create that system and that environment that enable people with different characteristics thrive. There are a lot of tools, but one of the most important is, and I think a lot of companies are doing this right now, is actually goal setting, right? So every half, even every quarter, you sit down together with your team, you put aside that all of your characters, all of your egos, all of your personal agenda in the company, but also, and then you dig deep into what you are going to achieve this half or this quarter or this year, right? So tuning in with each other and share that goal, I think that's important from the early phase. And I believe if you have that strong spirit of shared goals since the early days, you carry that culture in your company moving forward, and hopefully you will not be dealing with different characters every time, right? So you will not be hiring and moving people all around all the time and putting all of your time and energy into team structure, but you can actually focus on your real goal and realizing your idea.
Okay, thank you, Reno. Yeah, I think it's very interesting discussion, but our time is up. Thank you for all the panelists, but we still have time for final like closing remarks. Maybe you can give final short suggestion for all the early stage founders who become the participant of this events. But before it, I want to remind all of the participants that this event is organized by Archipelagic and Island States AIS Blue Startup Hub, which is doing a soft launch now. And AIS Blue Hub is meant for all stage startups and company that specially works in marine-related business that can bring impact and have a solution for the growth of archipelagic and island states countries. Please join us by visiting our website, aisbluehub.com, aisbluehub.com. For all of you who want a certificate, please put your data in the attendance link that we have shared in the chat box and the comment section in the YouTube. Okay, we will close the session. Maybe start with Alistair. Alistair, I think you are ready with unmuting your speaker. Maybe Alistair, can you share your closing suggestion, closing feedbacks for all early stage founders who become participant of this webinar, please?
Yeah, well, just on the last point, I was thinking it's very important that you really, when you bring a co-founder into the company, that you're absolutely clear on mission and vision, that you write a manifesto together. You write passion. What is your passion, and what do you want to do for the world and yourself? And you have to think about your exit strategy and when that might be. These are all critical things you must discuss with your co-founder. Thank you very much, everyone. Thank you for inviting me and being part of this. It's been great. I wish you all well. I'm part of the, like I said, we're setting up the Bright Science Technology and Innovation Hub at DSM in Singapore. We work closely with the Level 3 in Unilever as well, and we've built solutions for Unilever. So if there's any way for us to connect those hubs, please get in touch with me. Good luck in your journey, basically. Yeah. It's one of the greatest things you can do is start your own company. You'll certainly grow and evolve as a human being. Whether you money is not the metric of success by any means.
Okay, thank you, Alistair. And then next, Mariko, closing remarks from you.
Yeah, thank you so much for having me. It's been a really interesting discussion, and I'm thrilled that so many people are joining today who are interested in starting or growing their own business or whatever it may be. I guess my one takeaway would be don't let your own fear of not succeeding, or the fact that you think you need more money or you need more time to stop you from starting. We really hacked something together with very little time, very little money, but managed to get traction to start. And I think that was in part thanks to my co-founder's guts, just to be like, no, we've got to do this. And so don't underestimate your ability to do something. The world needs more people. The world needs more social entrepreneurs. It needs more entrepreneurs. And so the lower you can, the more you can reduce the risk, the better. But do take a chance if you can afford it, and try something new, because hopefully you won't regret it. Thank you.
Thank you. Reino, your turn.
Yep. And again, I said thank you for inviting me to the session. Congratulations to the Blue Hub. Utilize that. It's such a good program, and I hope you can get the positive benefits from Blue Hub. And we have a saying here at Facebook that the work is always 1% done. So this is a rather tough year, but don't be discouraged. There are a lot of opportunities. We've seen a lot of success stories this year as well. We might need to switch a little bit, switch our strategy, but you still have that 99% left in you, and you just need to keep on digging and utilize that potential, right? So keep moving forward, keep pushing, and I believe all of us here will get the success that we want, hopefully by the end of the year. Thanks.
Thank you, Reino. Alvin?
Okay, thanks to AIS and UNDP team for having me today. So I think it's a great initiative. Congrats on the launch on the AIS Blue Hub as well. So for me, my advice will be get your idea and start now. So it's the title of the webinar. So for founders, start now, roll up your sleeves, get your hands dirty, talk to your customers, validate your ideas. I think it's very important to validate your ideas first before you build your product. So that's my advice to you guys. Good luck for everyone who just want to start a startup journey. And whenever you need the funding, you can always come to AIS Blue Hub or come to us. Thank you.
Thank you, Alvin. Yeah, before for all the participants, before you leaving this webinar, please fulfill the feedback form that we already shared the link in the chat box. And finally, thank you for Nodi Fadrino, Politics and Government Outreach for Facebook Indonesia and APAC. Mr. Alistair Douglas, founder and partner at Ichmael Technologies, Mariko McTire, co-founder of MyMizu, and Alvin Evander, head of Synergy and Accelerator at MDI Ventures. And also thank you to Mr. Jason M.V. Herbert, Business Development Manager at Main Innovation, and Mr. Sora Lokita, Acting Director of Coordinating Ministry for Maritime and Investment Affairs, Republic of Indonesia, who has given the opening remarks. And thank you for all 200 participants who already joined this webinar. Thank you for the participation, and let's see you in the next AIS event. Thank you. Bye-bye.
Thank you very much.
Thanks. Cheers.
Bye. Thanks. Bye, everyone.
Bye, everyone.
Thanks, bye.